Hello, everybody, and welcome to Late Night Football. It's a match reaction show, but I mean, how are you going to react to that? How do you react to that? I mean, when was the last time that we had four red cards in the same day of the Premier League? I mean, it's just unbelievable. I don't know what I've seen today. I literally don't know what I've seen today. I mean, there's on the one hand you have Arsenal, who I mean, by all accounts, I mean, Wolves got away pretty much with murder there, the way they won that game, because they had, Arsenal self-imploded in that game. But then now you come to Man United against Southampton, and you're thinking, well, lightning strikes twice in the same day. Two red cards to Southampton, and United were just brilliant. It's finished Man United 9, Southampton nil. I mean, that's a record-breaking win in some ways. It is a record win for United, equaling what they did at the 9 goals that they scored against Ipswich, and they win. It's a massive win for United. They needed that. I think the players needed that. You could see it. But I mean, you got to go right to the start. We got to start with that red card for jankewitz, and it was silly. I couldn't believe it. You normally see yellow cards given that early. You don't see red cards given that early. So I was a bit surprised it was a red card. But then I saw a replay. I was like, well, that's a red card. It has to be a red card. It's shocking tackle. It's very, very lucky that McTominay was not seriously injured. I think McTominay was very lucky. I think jankewitz was very lucky as well. Because it's a big psychological thing to carry. So at least thankfully he doesn't have to carry that. Thankfully, McTominay was okay, put in a great performance, but that was just a shocking tackle. I think sometimes what happens is the adrenaline, the energy gets to you. We saw it with Gerrard as well, a few years back when he came on the pitch and then go straight off with a red card. It happens sometimes, and it's just one of those things. A young player learning his game, and he's lucky. It was a bad tackle. There's no getting away from that. But I think sometimes you just got to take a step back and understand the situation. That, you know what? It's just the exuberance of youth, and something that he will have to learn from, and hopefully he learns from it. But I mean, after that, what just followed is just incredible, unbelievable. I think after that, the important thing for United was to get that first goal as quickly as they could to get that goal, because the longer Southampton kept it in 0-0, the more the frustration would have built. Southampton was still can still be dangerous from set pieces and corners, and they did trouble United a couple of times, even despite being down to 10 men. So getting that first goal was important, and it came from the unlikeliest of sources, Wan-Bissaka. I mean, it's I think you can say that you're having a bad day when the names on the score sheet, you have Wan-Bissaka and Daniel James, and both of them actually scored from inside the penalty box. It wasn't like some freak goal that sometimes goes to wonder goals or whatever. They were tap-ins, essentially tap-ins. And when you get that, then you had a bad day at the office. I think Southampton just have to look at it that way. But then the first goal went in. Then the second goal goes in, which Rashford scores that. Then there's an own goal from Bednarek. Then Cavani scores, and at 4-0 at halftime, you think he gets game over. And I was hoping that he would take off a few players. It would have been nice to see Bruno taken off, and I think Bruno would have been one of those taken off if Shaw hadn't had that issue. I think Shaw was taken off because of an injury, so Fred had to play left back. It was good to see him bring on Donny, though. I mean, the conventional wisdom would have been to bring on Alex Telles, but he brought on Donny. I think fair play to him. It was good that Cavani got 45 minutes off, so that's good. And Martial comes on, and then Rashford also only playing 60 minutes, so he's getting a bit of time off. I thought the substitution was spot on today. And just going a little bit back to the team selection, it's hard to make a case for the team selection because they play essentially 90 minutes without with a man advantage. But I think a few things were spot on. I think Martial not starting was right, despite how he played in the second half. I think him not starting was the right decision. Cavani had to start today. I also like that he dropped Pogba. Because I was expecting Pogba to start, but as a winger, I didn't expect him to start as a midfielder. But I was pleasantly surprised that he didn't start today. And not saying that Greenwood was excellent or that Greenwood deserved to start, but I think it's just he just needed I think he needed that rest. He needed that time off a little bit, and I think this game now will motivate him because he'll see if he is a midfielder. I think Donny van de Beek played well, Fred played well, and McTominay played really well. So he's got competition there, and if he's playing as a winger, then I think Greenwood did well today. I think Martial scored those goals, and he's going to be a challenge. And then Rashford scored a goal as well. And then you've got Daniel James, who's also now going to score a goal. So it's good in a way. It's good. It keeps Pogba motivated, keeps him hungry. Particularly now is the time with the transfer window closed. What is his motivation going to be? But I think if he is committed to the cause, I think this is good motivation for him as well to look at it and say, you know what, I've got to fight here for my place, so I've got to keep my levels up to get that opportunity. So I think that was perfect game management there and man management from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and then to bring those players on the second half. It's just one of the things I thought they would just slow down a little bit in the second half, just try and play at a slow pace, maybe get a couple of goals if they could, but really slow it down. But they just rammed it in, and I think Southampton just played into United hands the way they were playing. Then there's a fifth goal that goes in from Anthony Martial, very well taken. I think that was a goal he really needed. That goal, it was good for him to get it. And then there's a sixth goal that goes in from the goals just keep coming, I'm saying it was McTominay. McTominay's got a fantastic goal. McTominay's got this thing about long ranges, hasn't he? He just scores some very nice long ranges. Scored that. Then you got the seventh from a penalty, which we'll talk about a bit. We'll talk about VAR in a second here. Then there's a penalty. Bruno converts it. And then there's an eighth from Martial, which is an Wan-Bissaka cross. I mean, I think about that. Wan-Bissaka got a goal and an assist from a cross. I mean, how many times? I can guarantee you that's not going to happen very often in his career. But it happened today. And, make hay while the sun shines kind of thing, right? And then Daniel James just comes up and pops up with a ninth with the Bruno assist. Bruno had a goal and 2 assists as well. So I think he padded his stats as well. Martial padded his stats. A few players padded their stats today, so that was good. But talking about VAR, before we get into, I think I need to talk a little bit about some of the players, but I think we talk about VAR first. So there were a few critical decisions. I think the red card obviously was a red card. I don't think there's any debate about that. The penalty, I'm not sure. To me, again, there's some people saying his foot is on the line, but I feel like the challenge, the person who's making the tackle, I thought that tackle started outside the box. And it just so happens that Cavani's foot is on the line, but the tackler's foot is not on the line. So that, it's one of those gray areas, right? Do you give it or do you not give it? I mean, at 4-0, I mean, it's one of those decisions you're like, okay, well, maybe it's outside the box. For me, at first glance, and I always look at this way, I don't look at lines and I don't look at all that. I just try to look from what is my eye showing me. And that doesn't mean I'm right, but it just means that what do I see? And what I saw was that it was not a penalty. It was not inside the box. It was outside the box. Now, somebody might say, you're blind, and it was actually inside, and that's fine. But for me, I just thought that Cavani's foot was on the line, but the person who was tackling him, his essentially his front. If you look at it this way, his front part of the boot, if you think of this as the boot, then his front part of the boot was on the line. So there's something from around here, but then he actually tackles him on the leg, right? Because the leg goes that way. So here, I mean, that's, if you can tell, it's probably outside. So for me, it was outside. So I thought it was a correct decision that it was a free kick and not a penalty. But I mean, I can see if somebody says, it's a penalty. So, but ultimately it doesn't matter today. We'll probably leave that debate for a later day when there's a more controversial moment. But today I just thought it was not a penalty. Then Southampton scored a goal, which I thought was a goal. Again, it's the eye test. I actually don't even know why it was offside. To me, I don't know. Were they looking at the hand being offside? I don't know what part of the body was that he was going to score a goal with that was offside. I have no idea why it was called offside. I have literally no idea. But it wasn't offside to me, even otherwise looking at it from a naked eye. Again, just looking at it from my eye, not worrying about the lines, that's not offside. You can't call that offside. I think that was harsh on Southampton, really harsh. I don't think it would have made a difference to the final outcome. It would have probably made a difference to the result, to the scoreline, but I don't think it would have made a difference to the outcome. But still, it's harsh on Southampton to be given that for, chalked off for offside. I thought that was not offside. So, I think VAR got one right, it got one wrong. And then the penalty, I think that, I really don't get why they took so long to decide. I guess the question was it intentional? Was it a red card offense or not? I can only assume that was what they were looking at, because it was a penalty. From the two angles that I saw, it looked like a penalty. The first angle, clearly from side-on angle, you can clearly tell it's a penalty. From the the behind angle, the reverse angle, whatever they call it, it might have looked like it probably was not, but then there was contact, so you kind of have to give that as a penalty. Was it a denial of a clear goal scoring opportunity? It definitely was. Should it have been a second red card? According to the letter of law, it should have been a red card. But, when the team is down 5-0 or 6-0, sometimes you just got to be compassionate and say, no, we're not going to do it. But I get why they did that. You have to kind of follow the letter of the law, and you have to, it has to be fair to the, because the next team that's going to play them, Bednarek plays that game and does well, then you're kind of wondering, well, should he even be playing this game? So I can see why that was a red card. It is the denial of a goal scoring opportunity. It wasn't a play for the ball. So if you look at it from the same angle as the David Luiz challenge, I think there's a lot of similarities between the two, by the way. The one that David Luiz was red carded for and the one that Bednarek was red carded for, very similar. You got to kind of say that, it's a red card. So I think they got it right in both. If the first one is a red card, then the second one has to be a red card. So I think that's fine and that's fair. I think in terms of the context, it's just the context of the games was so different. That sometimes you kind of wonder. But once you're down to 9 men, really, it's like, you've then got 2 more goals added. So I thought VAR got today more right than it got wrong. I guess you could say it got 2 right and 1 wrong. And that's just the way refereeing is. That's just the way it's going to be. People expecting VAR to be this miracle cure that's going to have 100% right decisions. It's not going to have that. Football by its nature is never going to have 100% right decisions, because a lot of the laws are up to interpretations. and all of our interpretations are different. If there's a million people watching, there's a million different interpretations of that of an incident. So it's never going to be 100%, but what you're going to see is that clear cut things, they will be caught, and those will be addressed, and that, I think that's what it is. But again, maybe sometimes the clear cut things may not also be caught, but that's the aim. But I think talking about players, I think it's hard to read too much stock into too many of the play performances today, because I think you're playing against a team that's down to 10 men. You can't really make judgments about it. It's good for stats, it's good for morale, but I don't think ultimately you can make any judgments. But I did like. I thought Martial's 2 goals were very important. I have been very harsh on Martial the last 2 or 3 weeks. I admit that. It was good for his confidence to get these 2 goals. I don't think he should start against Everton. Now, this is where the mistake could happen, is it always goes, you know what, I should not start him against Everton because his form. No, he's not going to start. It's got to be Cavani starting, because scoring 2 goals against a tired team that's down to 10 and then 9 men is good. It's good for his confidence. It's good for him to know that he's got that ability and he can now push for a place, and he should. But I think Cavani should start against Everton. I think Cavani has earned the right to start against Everton. But it's a wonderful performance from Martial. Take nothing away from him. Both goals very well scored. He could have had a hat trick if that chip had actually gone in. It's just a little bit side, but I mean that's fine. But a good performance today. I think everything that was missing in the last few weeks, today he showed that. The one thing I will say though is I think the experiment to play Martial on the left, to play Cavani, Martial, and Rashford, I don't think that should happen again. I think it should be Cavani and Rashford starting for the moment. And then you can either bring in Martial on the left if Rashford is out of form, or you can bring Martial in as striker if you want to give Cavani a rest, or if he's out of form. But I don't think those 3 should start together. It just unbalances the team. And the reason I say that is because Rashford today looked really good on the left. And again, I've been very harsh on Rashford as well. I know, we had this discussion with Helen. If you haven't seen that episode, from the Arsenal game, you can watch it. I said it, Rashford doesn't like playing on the right. He shouldn't be playing on the right. He hasn't been very good. And he wasn't. Today he played on the left. He was very good. He did very well. And that's just what I think his natural game suits him playing from the left, where he can kind of cut in, he can do his stuff. On the right, I think what basically happens is the angle doesn't suit him. So oftentimes he'll go past the player, but then he doesn't know what to do. Should he shoot or should he try and cross it? And he kind of gets lost in that. Whereas on the left, I think he has a little bit more idea of what he wants to do once he has the ball. So I just feel that he should be playing on the left for the foreseeable future at least. Unless you're really in an emergency situation where you're chasing a game and you want to have more attackers in the field, fair enough, you put him as an emergency option on the right. But I think starting games, he should be starting on the left. So I thought those were good selections. I was very happy that Pogba didn't didn't play today. And the reason I'm saying is this is not an anti-Pogba agenda, by the way. It was right that he didn't start, but I thought at 4-0 up, 45 minutes, you might bring on Pogba because you want to rest players. I thought it was good that he didn't bring him on, because Pogba didn't need to come on. He didn't need to pad his stats. He didn't need to do anything. This was not a game where United needed to win. They'd already had the game in the bag. They need to see it out. You don't need to be Pogba on for 45 minutes just to, he doesn't need that confidence boost. He doesn't need that. He's naturally got all that. So it was good for him to be rested, to be completely rested, and to watch the game, and let other players like Donny, Van de Beek, like Daniel James get that opportunity to come on and get some game time and play well. So this is not an anti-Pogba agenda. I think this is good man management from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because Pogba will start against Everton. That's quite obvious that he's going to start against Everton. So this was just good game management to not give him any the game because he didn't need the minutes. Essentially, I thought Luke Shaw was excellent today again. I don't know. I hope it's not an injury issue that's too serious. I hope he's going to be able to play against Everton, because he was excellent today again. He's growing and growing and growing. I think he's going to be. He's now in that Ashley Young territory where he's a very good left back, but people just don't realize how good he is, because they're more focused on things that are not necessarily a part of what he's supposed to be doing, but they expect that from him. I think today he was excellent. And I thought Wan-Bissaka was good too. I thought he had a bit of shaky start, Wan-Bissaka, actually, but then he grew into that game. I think playing against 10 men kind of helped him. But his goal and his assist, those will do him a world of confidence. And I think if he can take that into the next game, then that's something for him to work on. So again, absolutely brilliant game from Wan-Bissaka as well. I mean, the only other thing I would say is Scott McTominay, and I thought he was brilliant today. I know he was given the man of the match today. I don't think I can single out a man of the match, because quite frankly, there's so many good performances. But I suppose if you wanted to give it, it would be between Anthony Martial or Scott McTominay. I guess you could give it to McTominay because he played the full 90 minutes. But I thought he was excellent. I thought Bruno was excellent as well. And again, a welcome return to form for him as well, because he's been out of form as well for a little while. So it's good for him to get the form. I would have wanted him to not play the second half, but I can understand the Shaw injury probably put paid to that. So one of the 3 had to play because Shaw was the one who was taken off. But I think otherwise it would have been Bruno, Cavani, and Rashford who would have been taken off. So I kind of appreciate that he kept Bruno on. It was good for him. But McTominay was excellent. And the one thing I noticed, and I noticed this last season as well, I think McTominay and Daniel James have a really good connection. They really work well together. And McTominay looks a different player when Daniel James is on the field. Daniel James looks a different player when he has McTominay next to him. They just have this understanding that's really wonderful. The problem is neither of them are really world-class players. Neither of them are really, not even, top-class players. I think they're both good players, not very good players, not extremely good players. They're good players. Daniel James goes between good and decent. McTominay sometimes is good, sometimes is decent, sometimes is very good. So it's a little bit of a lower level connection. It's not a connection that's going to get you top 4. It's going to win you league titles, but it's a connection that can sometimes win you games. Especially in these kind of situations. I saw it against Leeds as well. I've seen it a lot of time last season. There's just something about those two. They understand each other's games out. If both of them could, step up their levels, they could make, work harder on their games. Maybe there could be something there. But they really work well together. I think Daniel James, by the way, has now scored another goal. He scored 3 goals this season, and it's interesting how he doesn't get a lot of opportunities, but when he comes on, he's starting to add a few goals to his game. It's just his consistency is an issue, but I think today he had the idea of what he wanted to do, and of course it's easier when you're playing against 10 men and 9 men. I keep quantifying that because that is important to quantify. I know a lot of people today will get carried away and will think, oh, if we won 9-0, United are back and all of those things. It's not. It's a good performance. It was a very good performance against a good team that was hampered with suspensions, and you just got to take that in your stride. It's a good performance. You can't take anything away from that, but it's important to keep the expectations where they are. But that's aside. I thought today everybody played really well. They played their parts. It's a good result. But now go on to Everton next, and we'll see what happens there. But I mean, it's good for the top 4 races as well for United, because they're starting to lose a bit of ground. Actually, they didn't lose a lot of ground. Actually, when you think about it, in the last weekend, Leicester lost, Everton lost, Southampton lost. Chelsea were the only ones who won. West Ham lost as well, and Arsenal drew obviously with United. So United actually gained, aside from Chelsea, United gained points on everyone in this one. And now with this win, they've kind of kept that gap. They'll keep that gap, and they probably improved their goal difference quite significantly as well. So that I think overall they'll be happy with the top 4 race as it is. I think they'll be happy with this last 2 results. I think the draw kind of ends United's hopes for a title challenge, unless City go and lose the next 2 games. Which is unlikely. But if they lose the 2 games, then United win against Everton, obviously, then they might come back into it. But for now, I think the title challenge is probably over. The focus now has to be on making sure that they get into top 4 and keep that secure. So anyway, it's a good result for United fans. Congratulations if you are a United fan. Commiserations if you're a Southampton fan. But again, keep in mind you were playing against a team that had a man advantage for 90 minutes, 2 men for the last 10-15 minutes. So take it for what it is. It's at the end of the day, it's just 3 points lost. It doesn't affect Southampton's season. They've had a wonderful season. And whatever they do, from here, it's been a great season for them. So for you guys, so it's fine. These things happen. It's just one of those days. It was one of those days for Arsenal where everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. It was one of those days for Southampton where everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And it's just those things. You just have to let them in your stride, and then you kind of move on from that. So commiserations to you guys. Please smash a like if you enjoyed this video, and if you enjoyed watching Man United. You might want to, I'm probably going to catch the highlights at some point and probably look at all those goals again, because there's so many of them to watch. I'm like, yeah, I probably will go and look at them. So, smash like if you're going to do that as well. And please share your comments about what do you think, this results mean for United. What did you think, some of the key things that you would take away from the match? And what are some of the things that Ollie can use for against Everton? So much to discuss, so much to unpack. We can't really do all of that. Don't have the time, but please let me know. I always like hearing from you guys, comments and that we can talk about in future episodes. And please do remember to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Really appreciate your support. I want to keep producing videos like this. We'll do a few more coming this week. So, your subscription really helps with that, and it really supports. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Have a good day or night, whatever time you're watching this. And we'll see you again tomorrow with more match reactions for the games that are coming up. Take care. Bye-bye.